The Eagles' ears are burnt.
Dean Cox was on the phone and so was Nick Naitanui.
They'll have a phone bill that even Nick Naitanui can't jump over.
Oh.
And 3 weeks into the season, they still haven't opened their account. But West Coast's mobile big men will be charged up tonight, raring to answer their coach's call.
But it's still alive for the Eagles. What a goal!
Meanwhile, the Bombers are connected. Joe Watson instrumental in their first win for the season.
Wonderful stop by the Bombers.
And Mark Williams giving Essendon's forward plan a bit of long-distance coverage.
It's a mighty kick.
It's the Bombers flying against the Eagles.
You betcha!
On Friday Night Football. And gentlemen, please switch off your mobile phones.
So the Bombers come out for this big game on Friday night. Perfect conditions. They haven't travelled well on the road, that's for sure, but they had a terrific win over Carlton last week. And with Lee Matthews and also Matthew Knight. Matty, thanks for joining us. And Michael Hurley, it's great to have you back. We're guessing you're going to play him forward to start?
Yeah, you're probably guessing right. Yeah, we've been, I guess, waiting for 4 or 5 weeks. And he's played some good football in the VFL and got his match conditioning up. So really looking for him to form a good relationship with Scott Gumbleton tonight and get themselves going.
And the Eagles at Subiaco, what KPI have you been pushing the most this week?
I think on the road, we've got to make sure we look after the ball. And when you get opportunities on the road, you've got to take them. So, our disposal is really important. And I think with Cox and Naitanui, the stoppages are going to be vital tonight.
And you told that both the big blokes, you're going to get a lot of match minutes out of them up forward?
Yeah, we think so. We think David Hill and both Paddy Ryder play better with more minutes anyway, and it's hard when they're on and off the ground. So, if we can get sort of 80, 90 minutes out of both, it'd be great.
Just finally, Scott Gumbleton, his 4th consecutive game. That's something in itself. How do you see his development now as he gets a few games under his belt?
Yeah, I guess we've seen a little bit more each week. I mean, the first week is really rusty. I think last week against Carlton, we saw him extend his arms a couple of times and take some big marks. So it's really promising for our club. And, we just, as I said, hopefully him and Michael Hurley can form a great relationship in the future.
Matty, appreciate your time and all the best, mate.
Thanks, Bruce.
Terrific. Up to you, Dennis. Should be a terrific match.
Yeah, thanks, Bruce. Out come the West Coast Eagles to Subiaco Oval, yet to win a game this season. In fact, they've won only 12 of their past 49 games. And Tom Harley, those numbers are quite surprising and alarming for supporters of the West Coast Eagles.
It's a remarkable stat when you see that only Melbourne is worse. Richmond obviously have fared better. It's highlighted at the moment with the fact that Fremantle are performing so well over here in Western Australia. So the Eagles are a must-win game tonight.
And a young bloke making his debut tonight, Ashton Hames, or Hams actually, to get that right. But the West Coast Eagles with a lot of problems, and as I mentioned, this guy making his debut at age 23. So the Eagles are pushing them through. They want to have a look at their players, and tonight they've made 2 changes.
We mentioned Hams. It's a great story, especially with the expansion clubs coming in, and McGinnity gets his chance. The Eagles need to kick goals. The problem hasn't been getting the ball in there. The problem has been converting, and whether that's the entry or whether it's the forwards, we'll wait and see tonight.
Tom, encouraging signs from Dean Cox late in the game last week, but he continues to struggle. They need him firing.
They certainly do. This is the one area of the ground I reckon the West Coast have got an advantage with. Obviously Natanui's been getting all the headlines. Cox worked into the game. He's only been averaging 10 possessions a game, but 16 last week. He's still an elite ruckman. The effectiveness is there, and as the game is progressing, I think he's actually getting better and better.
Well, the whole town is talking about this guy. Nick Naitanui dominated the Bombers in game 1 of the NAB Cup.
Yeah, he's really important. I mean, he's that real X factor. His contested possessions around the ball. His hit out work's effective, and that's the other thing about Dean Cox. He's got a fantastic mentor in Dean, and the upside to Naitanui is frightening, to be honest.
Plenty of inside 50s for the West Coast Eagles, but they're not putting it on the scoreboard. There's Josh Kennedy, one of their stars in the pre-season.
Really needs to lift. He's only kicked the 8 goals. They need some targets up there. Lecras was fantastic last week with 5 goals, but they need a tall marking power forward, and Josh Kennedy's that player for the West Coast Eagles.
And speaking of power forward, Scott Gumbleton back in Western Australia and battling back. 6 marks last week. Still waiting to turn the corner, but you get the indication perhaps the flicker is on. It's Friday Night Football. It's the West Coast Eagles in Essendon. Tonight on the Halftime Show, Bomber rookie Jake Melcham tells us about his first match, all the latest footy news, and we catch up with the Eagles sensation, Nick Naitanui.
I had a guy in the crowd behind me yelling out palm tree and, sideshow Bob, that kind of thing.
Friday night the Subiaco. Good crowd building up, you'd expect that. Essendon actually has terrific support here out west. They've got over 3,000 members, and every time they play here, they are in big voice. So the Bombers won't be without support tonight. It is a crucial match. They're 1 and 2. And West Coast sitting on 0 and 3. A bit of a surprise after their good finish to last year.
I must say, we've got to remind ourselves, Rich, Subiaco, Essendon have got the home Guernsey on the dark, and the Eagles have got the predominantly white for the away team. So Jobe Watson about to meet up with Darren Glass for the toss of the coin as round 4 is about to commence on a Friday night.
Corey doing the toss today. Corey, Jobe. Corey, Darren. Toss. All right, Joe, do a call. Corey, when you're right, give it a pop. Heads is a call. That's a tails, Darren. No worries.
So the Eagles win the toss. They kick to the left of screen. Time now to welcome Tim Watson, our boundary commentator again tonight. And Tim, tell us about the conditions.
Well, the conditions are almost perfect, Bruce, but if you have a look at the flags on top of the scoreboard there, they are blowing and almost across the ground, but I'd have to say, having been out on the ground previous to the players' warm-up, it was favouring probably left of screen, if anything. Now, one player who will be fired up early tonight in particular is Daniel Curry. Got off to a shocking start last week, had just 3 touches in the first half, completely eclipsed by a rookie by the name of Ryan Bastanak, who got a NAB Rising Star nomination for his effort. Kirk's trademark, this was the thing that was missing from him last week, where his trademark aggression was missing. I expect that would be back tonight. He's their #1 midfielder, and while Prentice might get more of the ball, he doesn't hurt you like Daniel Kirk can, because he can run and because he brings so many other players into the game and into space. You have to contain him. I'd expect Welsh to go to him tonight, and that is an explosive pair.
So the umpires tonight, McBurney, Margetts and Ryan. And the huddle slow to break. The interchange players, Marston, Cox and Spanger for the West Coast Eagles, and for the Bombers, Collier, who was impressive last week, Mark Williams, who bidded 4 goals last week, Lovett Murray had 31 possessions last week, and Hurley doesn't pay to play well. Those guys on the bench to start, but as we know, they'll see plenty of action. Huge game for the West Coast Eagles tonight, simply because they finished the season so strongly last season, and now a bleak start this season, and everybody just has that hint of a worry here in Perth that supports the West Coast Eagles. Was it a springboard? It might just have been a ceiling.
And we notice that Natanui starting in the ruck and Dean Cox on the bench, and we know he's missed a bit of work, Dean Cox, but sometimes when the senior ruck, when it starts on interchange and the sort of junior kid starts on the ball, not great for the confidence building of the senior man.
No. Actually, we'll talk with Nick Natanui at halftime, and he talks about that.